the concept of yielding. And some people have said to me, I'm finally starting to understand what you mean when you say yield. And I know that it's kind of a strange concept and not one that's typically taught in yoga. One of the things that I've over the last few years have tried to get away from is this sense of prescribed, like postures must be like this, and this sense of precision, which is beautiful. But it sometimes can be lacking in this deep intuitive sensing. And yielding, I think, is this beautiful way of learning to trust your intuition, learning to trust your relationship with gravity and with the earth. And it gives us a deep sense of presence. So Donna wrote out Donna Farhi wrote out these kind of descriptions of collapse, prop, and yield, which if you've been with me long enough, you've known that I talk about this a lot, right? That a sense of collapsing is when we kind of fall into the earth, and a sense of propping is when we're trying to prop ourselves off of the earth, and yielding is this balance point between the two, which is what we're searching for. So I just wanted to read these off to you because I think they're kind of powerful. Collapse. Everything is going down. Passively giving weight to the ground, a lack of cohesion and sufficient tension within the structure to create a trellis of support for the rebound of gravity. Weight is dropped into the joints, causing compression. Posture is maintained through leaning into ligaments, while muscles remain flaccid. There's no collective agreement between the parts of the body and the whole or their relationship to the ground, gravity, and space. Breathing is shallow, labored, lethargic, and intermittent. Sighing and yawning are needed to recover. Emotional patterning of self-negation, self-pity, and inertia. So if you tend to fall into collapse, does this resonate? Do these things resonate with you? And then the opposite, the propping. It's characterized by everything is going up, okay? Actively lifting the weight of the body away from the earth. Excess of body tension that prevents a connection with the earth. Weight is lifted upward in the upper body, the chest, the neck, and the shoulders. It's accomplished through a push-push, which requires ongoing effort, which is usually followed by a return to the pattern of collapse to recover from effort. It triggers a sympathetic fight or flight or freeze response, which is reflected in the breath through secondary respiratory muscles, breathing high in the chest and neck. And the emotional patterning is holding the self up and embodying the separate self, unable to trust the support of the earth. So, I've talked about these things for years, but I think it's a really nice summary, right, of what happens when we collapse and we prop. Yielding is characterized by the balance of downward and upward forces. Actively giving weight, not passively, actively giving weight with positive body tension creates a trellis of support for gravity to rebound through the body upward into space. Perfect body tonicity, nothing more, nothing less than is required. Yield underlies push, underlies reach. We're going to work with this a little bit today. That you need to yield before the push, and you need to push before the reach. In yielding, the weight is borne by the bones, supported by activation of the muscles. Yielding is self-renewing, thus efficient, easeful, and sustainable. It allows for unimpeded flow of fluids and movement in the body, the ease of breath. The parasympathetic nervous system response supports continued rhythmic breathing. And the emotional pattern is we trust in ourselves, in the world, and in the ground through which we experience real connection with others. Now, if there's anything that we're trying to accomplish in the physical asanas of our yoga practice, trust in ourselves, in the world, and the ground through which we experience real connection with others. I think that's a pretty amazing goal to have, right? So let's try to work with these forces of yielding. So hopefully that gives you, if you've been confused by yielding and trying to figure out why bother, like what is this that she's constantly talking about? this is why I bother. It has far-reaching impacts on our well-being. All right, so sit up straight and tall. And thank you, Donna, for laying that out so clearly. And let's just take a moment to drop into the weight of our body. So if you close your eyes and that makes you feel more grounded inside, then great. And if you need to open your eyes, that's fine too. So let's feel a sense of connection to the earth. Can you drop your weight? Can you feel, even here, practice a little bit what collapse might feel like? Practice a little bit with what propping might feel like. And do you feel any of those things that I just rattled off between those two forces? And then seek somewhere right in the middle where we both give actively, which is very different than passively. We give actively into the earth, and we create a container, a trellis. I love that word. It reminds me of beans growing in the garden, right? This trellis of support that we can grow through and rise upward. When you yield, how is your breath? Yielding and breath are two pairs. You really can't have yielding without breath. And breath is so much more profound when it's accompanied by yielding. See if you can soften the eyes, melt into places that hold tension. If you're a propper and you tend to breathe high up in your chest and your neck and shoulders get tense because of this push upward, can you melt a little bit? Soften your traps, soften, bobble around your head, get a little easeful. Sometimes I imagine that my breath is a conduit to the earth and to the sky, so that you can drink up from the earth or drink up from the sky and offer to the opposite. Switching on the inhale and exhale. Is your body at ease? Are you self supporting? Is the earth supporting you? And let's place our hands together at our heart and bow in. Create an intention. What is it that you need from your practice today? And then let's go ahead and release the hands down and find our way onto our mat. Okay. So as you find your way, can you get the sense that your relationship with this sense of yielding is very different when you are seated versus when you're standing versus when you're lying down? So as you find your way down onto your back, see what it feels like to spread your bones out. And now you have a very different relationship with gravity. Here you are. There's a lot more points of contact for you to have a relationship with the earth than just your feet or your sit bones. So let's feel into that. And sometimes in Shavasana, it's okay to completely surrender. You don't have to be an active participant, but you can be. So what does it feel like to be an active participant of giving your weight to the earth? Let's go ahead and stretch the body in any way that serves you. You can reach through your sides, stretching right side, stretching left side, finding any way of movement. Go ahead and roll your wrists around, roll your ankles around, all those edge points of the body. You might even spin your head left and right. See if you can feel aliveness in the places that we often touch the ground with. All right, and then stretch out again, reach and lengthen, find the breath, and then knees into the chest and give yourself a hug. Rock around a little bit, see what it feels like to sway. And then let's open the knees up and start to move around in the hip joints. Feel the pelvis. See what the movement of the pelvis is allowing for the hips. So if we just keep our pelvis kind of locked on the floor and don't move them, it's not as fluid of a movement in our hip joints than if we allow the pelvis to move some. All right, take your right thigh, cross it over your left thigh, draw your knees into the chest and just give a little stretch to your hips. Extend the spine here, breathing well. Doesn't it feel good to give something to the earth? When you drop your weight actively, does it feel good? Can you trust what's below you? Let's go ahead and change sides. You can straighten your legs all the way out or just cross. Draw the knees in. You feel free to hold anywhere along the way. So you can hold the knees, but you can also hold the shins or the ankles. Spine grows long. The breath is here. Relax the shoulders. A lot of times we prop very unconsciously the way our shoulders lift up toward our ears, the tension we hold in the top of the breath, the facial tension we hold. This is all just a slight essence of that propping. So see what you can do to surrender a little bit more. Unwind your legs, stretch your limbs out, starfish your body open, exhale, draw it in. Finding a sense of space, stretching out, drawing it in. Relax your head down, and then let's go ahead and roll over onto our side and come up onto our hands and knees. Okay, so find every time you come to a new posture, can you first experience your sense of yielding? So feel the difference here. Prop away, push the earth away. See the tension that is created in the body, and now collapse and notice if you're now leaning in ligaments. And then find something just in between where you have a sense of tonicity in the body without tension. Can you feel the difference between tonicity and tension? What does it feel like here to have that sense of yield and push? So remember, yield comes first, then push, and then reach. So where does that land in the body right now? We're going to feel it a lot in dog pose in a moment, but just practice a little bit of having soft elbow joints, letting your hands yield into the earth and the rebound that comes. And then turn this into some cat-cows. So move through your spine. I know there's a ton to think about, which is why having a moment to really explore your yielding before you start getting into the minutia of the alignment cues in a posture can be really nice, because we do want our breath and our yielding to be kind of the matrix of what we're swimming in a posture. The refinement of your thigh goes here and your foot goes here and your shoulder goes here is just within that matrix. But if we lose the matrix of breath and yield, all those points of alignment just become hardening in the body and isolating in the body instead of returning us back to wholeness. So as you move the spine, notice where is your breath? Where do you naturally inhale? Where do you naturally exhale? Can you keep a flowing rhythm of breath being the guide of your movement and yielding being the guide of your sensation? Let's lift the left arm up in the air. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Slide that shoulder down. Gaze toward the floor. Let there be ease in your neck and shoulders. Feel a sense of freedom across the back body. So as we stretch here, notice if this is a place where you hold a lot of tension. Okay, great. And then inhale. Reach that arm all the way back up and place the hand down onto the ground. Second side, arm up. Exhale and slide that arm down underneath you. Feel a sense of ease through your neck. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Even here, we can have this high top breathing if that's our habit. So see if you can drop the breath deeper into the lung field, soften your neck and shoulders and your eyes. All right, then inhale and reach that arm all the way back up in the air. Place the hand down onto the ground. Go ahead and stretch up to dog pose. So first, just, find yourself. Where do you want your hands and feet to be?
And as you get a little bit more comfortable, maybe you're pedaling your feet just to kind of wake up the lower legs a little bit. Once you find your placement of where you feel comfortable in the body with your hands and your feet, can you yield here? What does it feel like to give? You can practice collapse and prop a little bit if you just have to kind of swing the pendulum a little farther to know what the middle way feels like. And see if you can kind of go around in a circle. So we're weighting into the right hand, soft elbow, and then push off the right hand to bear weight into the right foot. Soften the knee, push off the right foot into the left foot. Knee is soft, rebound into the left hand. And go backwards. Back to the left hand, back to the left foot. Notice if you lock out your middle joints, your elbows and your knees, you're not going to be able to yield very well. And then find all 4 points of contact. So all 4 limbs reaching into the earth. So feel the yield, the active giving weight, and then the active reach, the active push, and then find the reach. What comes? Can you feel the yield, push, reach? The yield, push, reach. When you push off your hands, where are you reaching in your spine? When you push off your feet, where are you reaching up into your pelvis? Do you feel it? Do you feel these relationships? How's your breath? Soft elbows and knees. And then walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana. Fold, shake, loosen up anything that needs loosening. Feel the back stretch and lengthen. Come into a halfway lift. If you want blocks, take blocks. Extending through the spine. Feel your feet. Do you want your feet wider apart? Do you want them closer? Where's the perfect place that facilitates good, healthy breathing in you? And then melt and fold again. Push off your feet. Rise up, bringing the arms to the sky. Finding a sense of openness. Lengthen, spread out your wings. Feel a stretch here. Cactus, open your arms. If at all you're ever dizzy, remember you can always pause and squeeze to the midline. Okay, so feel the shoulder blades on the back. Can you feel enlivening here? And then exhale and round like a standing cat-cow. Okay, and then shake out your hands. Take a deep breath in. Reach the arms up, a big wide circle. Let's do another one, a big wide circle. And then exhale and fold. Relax the base of your skull. Let your neck soften. Inhale for a halfway lift here. Exhale and yield into the earth. Okay, find your breath. Step back, come into a lunge with your left foot back and your right foot forward. And if you happen to be lucky enough to have a cat doing yoga with you, then that's great too. Okay, feel the extension through your spine. Open up through your heart. All right, let's put our back knee down onto the ground. Rise up, bring your hands onto your knee. And we can notice, I think this is a good place to feel the difference between collapse and yielding. So notice what it feels like to collapse. Can you feel the sense of now your ligaments have taken over and you've lost your structural tonicity? And then press, yield and press. So yield and push. As you yield your feet into the earth and rebound with a push, where do you feel the reach? Through your spine. Rise up, bringing the arms upward. Now, if you are typically a propper, as soon as your arms got up overhead, you might have lost your yield. So see if you can find the balance between them, and you might need to make a change. So for me, sometimes I have to bring my arms a little wider so that I don't get trapped up in that pattern of my traps at my ears. Find the breathing. Is there a balance between stability and ease? And then release your hands down onto the ground. Lift your back knee up off the floor. Come forward, Uttanasana. Fold in half. Blocks are nice if you want them. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale and melt back down. Let's step our other foot back, finding a lunge. Find your breath here. Don't put your knee down just yet. Just experience the openness through the spine, the sense of stretch through the hip flexor. And then when you're ready, place your back knee onto the ground. Bring your hands to come up onto your knee and notice. Allow yourself to collapse for a moment and notice what the compression feels like. You start to compress your bones, you start to lean on ligaments,
and we lose that sense of tonicity in our body. So now find the yield. So lean in actively to the earth and rebound with a push and feel the reach through your spine. So as you yield, push, reach, is there breath? So a lot of times when we get caught up thinking with our mind, trying to feel around inside of our body, we forget to breathe. Lift your arms up or out or anywhere that's satisfying to the breath. So it's one of our most important things. And if your knee is bothering you, so being on that back knee is not great for everybody, you can always come up into a regular lunge. Okay, great. And then release the hands down. This time take your front foot back, come back into dog pose. Find the breath. Have that sense of yielding into the earth. Rebound through the spine. Feel the reach. Yield, push, reach. You have to have soft knees and elbows to do this. Try it. Lock out your elbows and your knees and try to have a yield. All I can find when I do that is a push. So see what it feels like to melt a little bit, to give yourself sway into the earth and then rebound. Receive gravity will come back through your body if you allow for the rebound. Walk your feet forward and come into Uttanasana and then rise all the way up. Okay. Turn sideways on your mat. Get to the long edge. Now, we're just going to practice this. Might look a little silly, and that's okay. You're all by yourself. Okay. So what I want you to do, and you can have your feet close, you can have your feet far, you can do this in any way, and you can change as we go. But I want you to get the sense of leaning your weight into one side and then rebounding, and then leaning the weight into the other side and rebounding. So, if we are only a collapser, we're just going to be like a lump kind of swinging from side to side. And if we're only a propper, we're not going to let ourselves kind of have any relationship with the earth. We're just going to bounce around, okay? So see what it feels like to give yourself over. Imagine, that you're not doing yoga anymore. You're just trying to feel your body. Yield into the earth, feel the rebound and the reach. Yield, push, and reach. Let yourself breathe. Try different movements with the arms as you explore what reach feels like. Try different positions with the legs. There's no rules of what you need to be doing in space. You can come off your feet and move into balance postures. You can take your legs way wide. So forget that you're doing yoga for a moment and just do exploration of finding yield, finding it again and again, feeling the rebound and the reach. So the joy of doing this all by yourself is that really try to take away your censorship. Try to take away, I should do it, I should look this way, I should act this way, I should move this way. Instead, suspend all expectations and just let your body become the yield. Okay? And experiment. Try to go into different planes. So we started out with our legs kind of wide, but maybe you want to come up onto one foot and see what yield and push and reach feels like on one leg. There's so many different things you can do to experience what this feels like. And if you let yourself dissolve into it, it can feel really nice. This is what relationship feels like. This is what trust feels like. This is what trusting yourself feels like. And knowing that you are always in contact. Unless you are leaping or on an airplane, you are in contact with the earth. So enjoy your relationship with it. If you did something one-legged, try to balance it on the other leg. We're almost there to kind of get away from the weird yoga that I sometimes make you do, right? So just see what this feels like. And then eventually find your way to Tadasana. And if you like this, if this is like opening a little bit of a doorway for you, practice it. This is the joy of being all alone, is that you don't have to be self-conscious about movement patterns and what you look like. what's that expression? Dance as if no one's watching you. So see, what would happen if you unleashed any burdens to your body's movement potential? Breathe well here. Soften the knees. Now in stillness, can you feel that sense of what yielding does for you? Can you drop some weight into the earth? Can you rebound through loose joints? Can you feel the trellis of support through your body? Does it feel like the tone in your muscles, your sinew, all of you is not something hard or rigid, but it's responsive, adaptive, and highly aware that there's potential for anything. So if somebody came, if we were in class, what I would have together, what I would have you do is partner up, and we would kind of have your eyes closed and have someone push you gently in different directions that you weren't expecting, like buckling behind your knee or moving your shoulder forward. So you'd have to rebound against different patterns. So if you want to play with somebody in this way, if you have a partner, that's a great way to play with yielding. Take a deep breath in, rise up, open your chest, lean back a little bit. Yoga can get rigid, so lose the rigidity as much as you can. The postures don't have to be rigid. They can be strong without being hard. Okay, go ahead and bend your knees. Relax your spine. Inhale for a halfway lift. Melt back down. Every time you move, can you feel that this is a relationship of yield, push, stretch into a half lift? Exhale and melt back down. Step your left foot back, come to a lunge here. Feel your yielding, feel your pushing. Rise up, feel your stretching. Even once you're there, feel those relationships of giving to us, just what you just practiced, whatever movement patterns you were playing with. Can you find the echo of that in a structured pose? Breathe well. Let energy flow through your joints. Try to unlock your shoulders, unlock your hands. Let your rib cage float and move with the breath. And then release the hands down onto the blocks. Hop up onto the one foot, onto the right foot. Stretch your left leg back. Exhale, drop in, bend knee, tuck knee next to knee or behind knee. Push off the earth and reach through the spine. Exhale, do it again. Soften in. Push off the earth. Rebound through your spine. One more time. Drop in. Yield. Push. And stretch. How's the breath? Place the other foot down next to it. Halfway lift. Enjoy 2 points of contact. Stretch your right foot back. Left foot is now forward. Rise up to crescent lunge. Float your arms. Can you be a breathing body? Are you moving with the breath, even the subtleness? Or do you lock yourself into rigidity? So try not to become concrete in your posture. Even balance poses, we want to stay away from that sense that we lock ourselves into position. So chance, risk, falling. One of the other good things about yielding is that it helps teach us how to fall properly. Okay, when we have a relationship, we're not afraid of coming into the earth. Okay, find that sense of openness, yield, push, stretch. Notice where your stretch becomes locked. If you lose your breath or you lose the energy connection to the earth, then you've gone too far. All right, let's release the hands down onto the ground. Take a hop forward, find your breath, find your balance, stretch that leg behind you. If your hands are on blocks, be very mindful so you don't trip up and fall off the block. Take a deep breath in here, exhale, yield, bend knees, push, straighten the legs, stretch the spine. Move with breath. How does your breath want to be here? Do you want to exhale when you curl in? Or would you rather inhale? What's your natural way? There's no rules. There's no right or wrong. Find what movement of breath feels good with movement of body. Yield, press, reach. Yield, push,
reach. Try not to lose connection through the push and the reach. Place your foot down onto the ground, 2 feet on the floor. Bend your knees. Rise up again. Arms coming to the sky. Float your arms. We're going to move through some chair poses, so you can bring your legs together or keep your legs apart, whatever feels best. You can also put a block between your thighs if you need stabilization for your knees. Take a deep breath in, yield. Give yourself down to the earth, stretch your arms back, and then we're going to push off the earth. Reach up through the arms, up under your tippy toes. Exhale, give your weight to the earth. Inhale, and I'm saying exhale and then inhale it because that's what natural is to me, but maybe it's different for you. So you can move slowly, more than 1 breath per movement. You can move quickly where you're dropping in. Whatever you're doing, when you get closer to the earth, when you drop your weight, when you go low, can you feel that this is not collapsing, but that you're actively giving your weight to the earth, and then you're actively receiving from the earth to lift off. So feel that you are not moving into collapse or prop, but that the whole way is the middle way. All right, hang out here on your tippy toes. If your feet don't like that, just put your heels down. Even when you're up onto little tiny bits, you're balancing on the least amount of body parts as possible on the earth, can you still find the yield? Even in your toes, can they yield? And then relax and melt your feet down. Bend your knees, come down to the earth, step back to dog pose. Yield, push, reach. Yield, push, reach. Soft elbows and knees. Feel the difference between giving the effort of the movement of your bones into the earth and the rebound through your bones. Can you feel that transmission of force where we're not collapsing? We still have the trellis of support, our tonicity in our body. Come forward into a plank when you are ready. Okay. Hold yourself steady in a plank. Now, when we get into a firm pose like this, where there's a lot of need for muscular support, do you lose and your sense of yielding? Do you go right to prop? This is when we typically move into propping, is when we suddenly decide that we need all of our muscles. This is a pattern of our tension. So see if you can still have a rebound through the arms, soft elbows, hands are yielding, feet. Anywhere that's touching the earth has the opportunity to feel yield. And then let's put the knees down and slowly lower yourself to the earth. Feel your whole body weight, give to the earth, and then push off the earth, cobra pose, stretch. Where's the breath? Come back down. Before you push off, give to the earth and then rebound through the push of your hands, the push of your legs. All right, let's do that one more time. Yield, push, reach. Melt back. Come all the way up onto all fours. Swish, swish your spine. Finding the breath and stretch back to child's pose and open up the lumbar spine. When you're in a posture like child's pose where the earth is so close, it's a great way for us to practice that we have a relationship down here with the earth. Maybe you only feel the yield, push, reach inside your breath. All right, let's go ahead and find our way to dog pose. Press into the hands, yield, press or push, and reach through the spine, reach through the legs. Are you a propper or a collapser? Where is your tendency? If you were to lean one way on the pendulum scale today in this pose, what is your tendency? Okay, let's walk our feet forward. Come up to stand
and turn sideways on the mat. So let's come into some standing poses. Take your feet wide, just like we did when we were doing the yielding dance, okay? So let's start with our legs even wider now. Maybe you went this wide before, I don't know. But see if you can feel into your posture. And then when you're ready, we're just gonna take a little bit of weight into the one knee. Turn your feet out just a little bit, kind of like goddess pose, like you were preparing for goddess pose. Yield into one leg, rebound, yield into the other. Now, a lot of times when we do Skandasana, I don't have you come all the way back up. So for today, all we're doing is trying to practice transferring weight through the pelvis from one leg through the pelvis into the other, and then pushing back off the earth. We're going to move into some standing poses, but just practice this first, and then get very still and still practice it. So what does it feel like when you're not moving a lot, but we're still feeling weight come into our right leg and transfer through to our pelvis, into our left? The knees have to bend a little bit in order to find this energetic exchange. All right, let's turn the right foot out. And as we come into a traditional Virabhadrasana 2, maybe if you tend to be a proper, if your energy is always up, try practicing some with your hands down. Because if you're a proper and you lift your arms out, chances are you're just going to get into that up, up, up pattern of trying to get yourself off the earth by the upper body and doing the movement. So if you have trouble with that, either drop the shoulders or change your arm position so you take that potential for propping out of the equation. Can you feel the rebound as you're in a standing pose now? Can you yield into one foot, push, reach through the pelvis all the way into the other? And then when you do this, oftentimes it's a little weird to have a bend in your back knee, but in order to yield, we need to bend and then push off. So see what it feels like to have a relationship with the back leg through the pelvis, the earth to the pelvis. And see if you can find that arc, that the pelvis and the earth, it's like a little triangle where you have the earth and the pelvis together. Doesn't matter how deep in the pose you go. Can you feel the center of your pelvis being the grounding force now? Both legs simultaneously yielding, rebounding. Feel the reach through your spine. Yield, push, reach. Relax. Trust that the tonicity of your body will take care of the pose, that you don't have to grit. Okay, let's go ahead and come on out of the pose. I know you've all seen runners or dancers or ice skaters or think of any person, someone on a horse, anyone who you have seen before in your life and felt yourself, where you have this grace and this relationship. I can think of someone that I see in Wash Park running. Oh gosh, he looks like there's no effort involved whatsoever. And this is one of the secrets of the no effort look. And it's not about the look, it's about the feel. The no effort feel comes from a balanced tonicity in the body where the body responds moment by moment to the need at hand, the relationship to the earth. So as we come onto this leg, decide where you want your upper body, and then start to play with yield, push, reach through the pelvis, and then back into the back leg. It may feel a little awkward. We're playing with things today. We're not, doing these precise poses. Just see if you can feel into that movement. Where's the breath in that movement? How do you want your upper body to be? And then once you can, feel both the yielding, you want the sense that you're dropping into the earth, you're rebounding up. So the yield, push, and the reach can find its way all the way through your spine, all the way up to your crown. So you're connecting both to the earth and to the sky. And the pelvis is this center point where when you ground and get low and bring the breath into the pelvic bowl, we feel yielding in our body in a unique way. We find that we have a relationship with the earth that goes beyond just our feet pushing into the ground. All right, let's go ahead and come on up. Turn your feet straight for a moment. So before we come into Parsvakonasana, let's just starfish out. Now let your arms come up, even if you've been keeping them down just to prevent that propping pattern in your body. Bring your arms up, drop your shoulder blades down, lots of room in your neck. Push off the ground and rebound through your spine, all the way into your hands. Can you feel that radiation from your navel out to your edges? All 6 limbs, hands, feet, crown, tail. Is your breath helping you? Let your breath guide you into the yield, push, reach. All right, and then relax. We're going to turn our feet the other way. Come into Parsvakonasana now, so you can have your hand on a block if you want, either on the back of your shin or the front. You can have your elbow resting. If you tend to be a collapser, then elbow on your knee can really contribute to a collapse, as can pushing the pelvis forward and locking the back knee. So if you tend to collapse, try putting your hand on a block. This will not allow you to, it will give you that trellis of support a little differently. It'll keep the tonicity through your body a little differently. Feel the yield, push, reach. Do you want your arm in the air, or are you staying away from that propping pattern and keeping your hand in a more, or your shoulder in a more neutral place? So experiment with where you want your body in space. Can you feel both legs yield into the earth, the rebound, the back knee soften just a little bit. You don't have to have a deep bend, but soften it a bit and feel that rebound through the spine. The breath, you can't do anything without the breath. If you're trying to yield and you're holding your breath because you're concentrating, you're not going to get anywhere. Okay. All right, and then come on up. Turn to the other side. Remember, if you tend to be a propper and you kind of lift, push up, lift. See if you can have your shoulders do a little bit something different in the posture today. If you tend to be a collapser where you fall and lean into joint spaces, then maybe don't have your elbow on your knee, because we can collapse into our shoulder, we can collapse into our hips. So find something that gives you the right amount of tonicity through your whole body. Find your Goldilocks, not too little, not too much. This is the joy of yielding. When we have a relationship with yield, we learn that we don't even have to think about it, that it becomes a part of our adaptability moment by moment, where we have just the right amount of structural support for any given stance, whether we're in your yoga practice or standing in line at the store. Okay. Find your breath. Yield, press, reach. Can you find it in both legs? Is the pelvis a centered place for that energy? All right, let's go ahead and come on up one more time, coming to a wide-legged stance. Turn your feet out. And we're just going to find the starfish again, so you can have your arms anywhere you want them to be. The center of your body, maybe you feel it to be your chest, maybe your solar plexus, maybe lower in your pelvis, maybe your pelvic floor. Wherever you feel your center in this moment to be, stretch from that center. When you yield and push, see if you can let the yield kind of gather into that center place, so that you can push and extend and reach from there. In this way, the earth comes and gathers in our center and stretches outward. Remember, all this stuff is subtle. It's with breath. Everything is not, you can't force your way here. You have to be patient and willing to open the body in unique ways. It's like learning how to brush your teeth with the other hand. There's something different. So give yourself space and patience and presence to experience the concept of yielding. Okay, let's release. Come back to dog pose. Extend through your spine one more time. Sometimes it's a little easier to feel the yielding when A, we have 4 points of contact on the floor, B, our head is closer to the ground. There's something about the brain being a little closer to where we're trying to activate that helps us feel. So see what it feels like to yield into the earth, to rebound through the whole body. Can you feel as you push your hands into the earth that the rebound travels through your spine into your pelvis? Is there a way for you to relax your neck and shoulders? Is there a way for you to stay present with your deep, full breaths? Okay, come forward into a plank. And once again, as we find, this strong posture, what does it feel like to not lock ourselves in? So this can be a very propping posture. We can even feel like we're just propping and pushing ourselves off the earth. So is there a way for you to yield, have a little bit of yield before the push? Try not to have only the push. And then let's lower ourselves down to the ground, back onto your belly, back bend of your choice. So maybe it's cobra, maybe it's something totally different. Now your torso is what's yielding into the earth. Maybe your hands too, depending on your posture. Can you feel your pelvis do a little bit of a yield push? Are you moving slightly with the breath? All right, and then relax. Turn your head one way or the other. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper your knees. So, we can do the same poses over and over again with completely different intentions. And it really changes your practice. It changes, obviously, the focus in your mind, but also the experience that you have of your body. Okay, let's go ahead and come back up onto all fours. Swish that spine around again. Do some circles in your pelvis, whatever feels really good. And then find your way down to child's pose. Relax your forehead. Take some deep breaths. And then let's come on to our back. Okay, so as you find supine, again, here we have lots of points of contact. So you can bend your knees for a moment, feet flat on the ground. All right, so we're gonna try some moving bridges, just like we did those moving chair poses. We're gonna just experiment with what it feels like to push off the earth with our feet, but first finding the yield. Now remember, you can yield anywhere you're touching the ground. So open up your shoulders, feel your shoulders move into the earth. See if your arms are touching anywhere, your backs of your hands, and all those places yield, and then push, especially off your feet, push off and lift up. And then release back down. And as you release back down, try not to collapse your way to the floor. Feel that tonicity on the way down as much as you feel it on the way up. Can you trust your relationship? Give into the earth, yield, push, and reach. How's the breath? Are you feeling all muscle groups share in that tensile strength, that tonicity, the trellis in your body? Slow on the way up, slow on the way down. Yield, push, and reach. One more time. Yield and push and reach. Okay, clear things away from you. So if you have blocks, you need lots of space. So push props away so you have lots of room. Hopefully you have room wherever you are doing yoga. Okay, we're going to stretch out to a starfish. Exhale, knees in, chest up. And then we're going to roll over. So if you're not familiar, we've done this before, but if you're not familiar, just watch me for a moment. So we're going to start in the starfish, and we're going to slide the right knee and right elbow toward each other and curl the rest of our body around. And then we're going to open back to a starfish. We're going to bring our left knee and our left elbow toward each other and curl the rest of our body around that. So look at me just for a moment. This is not what I'm talking about. So a lot of times I've seen this in class
where people start in the starfish and then they pick themselves up and roll onto your side and then out and then pick themselves up and roll over onto the side. So I want this to be a lot more languid in the body. You just want to have that sense that you are very drapey. If you've seen My Octopus Teacher and you've seen a creature that has no bones be able to move their body, imagine that you no longer have bones, okay? But you are still as dexterous and mobile as you ever were with bones, okay? So try to get that sense that you are draping your body, you're slithering your body, you're having a sense of fluidity, moving with breath. Where do you want to inhale? Where do you want to exhale? Can you get the sense that this is very soothing, comforting? So if you are a habitual chronic propper, which so much of us have this, we prop and then we collapse, and then we prop and then we collapse. You know, I grit through the day, pull up your bootstraps, suck it up, you know, everything's up. And then we collapse and we fall apart, or we, you know, collapse into the chair or into the couch or into the bed. So can you find that you can erase this pattern a little bit? You can repattern yourself to be fluid, to be mobile, to be adaptable, to be in relationship with the earth as you do this pattern. It's a Bartinia fundamental pattern. It's a Feldenkrais thing, you know, where we kind of learn how to roll onto one side, open back up, and roll onto the other side. It's one of our most primal patterns that we learn as babies, to roll onto one side. And so if we can return to that state of grace where we have a relationship with the earth, we're close to the earth, we are breathing in our movements. Now, I can't see any of you, so for sure, you know, if any of these concepts, which are weird and new perhaps, are difficult for you to really grasp, get in touch with me so we can communicate about it. All right, and then as you're ready, you can end on your left side since we started on the right. And then lay down and just notice, how do you feel? How do you feel? How is your breath? Is there anything you need right now to be comfortable for Shavasana? Is there a movement you need to do? Is there a prop that you need to gather? And if you're very comfortable, just be still and allow yourself to kind of move into the matrix of yielding, that your whole body now, as we move into Shavasana, can yield. Remember that yielding and breath are pairs, that you really can't have one without the other. Start your Shavasana with an active giving of your weight into the earth, an active relationship of surrender. And then as you go deeper, it may fall into a more passive state, and that's fine. But see if you can begin by actively giving your weight and breathing. Remember, our goal here is to trust in ourselves, to trust in the world, and to trust the ground through which we experience real connection with others.
Let's begin to deepen our breathing again. And as you find some movement, gentle movement, what does it feel like? How are you? Let's find our way onto our side and eventually come up to sit. As you find a comfortable seat, see if there's any change in your relationship with trust, with the earth. Are you grounded? Do you feel free? Are you breathing well? Offer this practice, your energy outward, and share with another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day.